How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about some of these stories coming from New York about the lack of ventilators and lack of supplies, all this, that, and the third. We had to get a refrigerator truck for all the dead bodies. A lot of these stories aren't really put in proper context, and they may be outright false. Now, what I'm going to do first is play this clip you may have already seen. This is from the perspective of a nurse up there in New York. They're going through the hospital. They're talking about, oh, we don't have enough ventilators. We just got a few more and it's not enough and we're going to run out, all this and that. After we get done with that, then I'll play Dr. Deborah Birx, who is the response coordinator for the virus task force in the White House, who, by the way, is very decorated, very intelligent, is probably the smartest person in the room, even beyond Fauci, but that's a different story, and I digress. She'll give her take on the whole situation and what's really going on. After we get done with those two clips, I'll come back, give you my 2 cents, my analysis, and then I wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
All the patients in this room, all the feet that you see, they all have COVID. The frustrating thing about all of this is it really just feels like it's too little too late. Like we knew it was coming.
Today is kind of getting worse and worse. We had to get a refrigerated truck to store the bodies of patients who are dying. We are right now scrambling to try to get a few additional ventilators or even CPAP machines. If we could get CPAP machines, we could free up ventilators for patients who need them. Five ventilators. Oh my God.
You know, we now have these 5 vents. We probably, unless people die, I suspect we'll be back to needing to beg for ventilators again in another day or two. There's a mythical 100 vents out there, which we haven't seen.
And then finally, the situation about ventilators. We were reassured and meeting with our colleagues in New York that there are still ICU beds remaining, and there's still significant over 1,000 or 2,000 ventilators that have not been utilized yet. Please, for the reassurance of people around the world, to wake up this morning and look at people talking about creating DNR situations, do not resuscitate situations for patients. There is no situation in the United States right now that warrants that kind of discussion. You can be thinking about it in a hospital. Certainly many hospitals talk about this on a daily basis. But to say that to the American people, to make the implication that when they need a hospital bed, it's not going to be there, or when they need that ventilator, it's not going to be there. We don't have an evidence of that right now. And it's our job collectively to assure the American people that it's our collective job to make sure that doesn't happen. Right now, you can see these cases are concentrated in highly urban areas. There are other parts of the states that have lots of ventilators and other parts of New York State that don't have any infections right now. So we can be creative, we can meet the need by being responsive. But there's no model right now, no reality on the ground where we can see that 60 to 70% of Americans are going to get infected in the next 8 to 12 weeks. I just want to be clear about that.
All right, so you heard both of those clips. You see what's going on. You hear what's going on. Now, first and foremost, why would we take the word from this nurse? Okay, the nurse is not a medical expert. All right, they're in the hospital. They can talk about what they see and what they think they understand, but they are not medical experts. They're medical workers, yes. They work in the hospital. They know more than I do about medicine, but they are not medical experts. See, Dr. Deborah Birx, and also Anthony Fauci. These are medical experts. These people are the ones you put out there on the front lines to deal with pandemics. You're not going to put a random nurse out there on the front line and deal with a pandemic, at least not from the point of view of trying to really solve the problem on the global scale, or try to like quarantine people or make any kind of big decision. Their role is to just follow a role, to fill in a role, to do a particular thing. Okay, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, whatever it is at a hospital. Your job is to care for the patients and to protect yourself as well. The people that are the actual experts, their job is to give you directives and give the whole country and maybe even the world directives on how to behave and how to deal with the whole situation. So when this video was floating around, and also Governor Cuomo talking about, well, we need 30,000 ventilators. Like, have you ever seen a ventilator? See, I did not know what a ventilator was, really. I understood kind of what it was used for, obviously, to help patients breathe. But you're talking about a machine that's like the size of an ATM machine or even bigger than that. These are not like masks. Maybe we need more masks. That might make more sense. But 30,000 ventilators, that's a lot of ventilators. You're talking about things that are the size of machines, and they're probably very expensive. I think Trump said it. He was like, when you go into most hospitals, you may see 2 ventilators in the whole place. So you're talking about you need 30,000 of them. I don't think that's appropriate. What they have in New York is right. You saw that part of the video I played first where I think, well, it might have been the head of the hospitals in New York were saying that we don't have a shortage. And Birx said the same thing. There's no shortage. There's enough to have for all of those who need it. Now, they showed that refrigerated truck to store some of the bodies. That's kind of like taken out of context. Maybe they do need more space. Maybe the in-hospital morgue, if there is one, is kind of overrun. But there have been other cases where they use trucks to store bodies. It might be a violent weekend in Chicago. You know, okay, you got a few dead bodies, more than what the morgue would allow. So you bring in the truck. I heard one time they used a truck from Burger King to store some bodies from a violent weekend in one of these inner cities. So this is not a first time thing for New York or any other place to use a truck to store bodies from a hospital. Okay. And beyond that, we still are only about like 1,000, maybe 1,100, 1,200 deaths in the US. How many deaths have happened from the flu in that same time period of the coronavirus wreaking havoc in the United States? How many total deaths do we have from the flu in this winter season? Beyond that, I'm thinking that the virus has been here for a long time. And when I say long time, I mean like since at least December of last year. It did not just pop up this month or February, because like I said in previous videos, remember, the virus was in China like at least in December, maybe even November of 2019 last year. The travel did not get cut off from China as far as airplanes until like mid-January. And it's crazy because when Trump did that, he was labeled as xenophobic. He was labeled as racist. But now people are saying that he didn't act fast enough. It's pretty weird, but I'll move on. Anyway, there's a gap in between when the virus first started and when travel was cut off from China to the US. So that was enough time for people to come from China and infect Americans. People have said, I thought I had coronavirus in December. I thought I had it in January. I was able to get over it. How many did not get over it? Maybe it was just part of the flu thing that always happens where you got like 30,000 or more Americans that die every winter season. It was just part of that and nobody thought anything about it. But now that we have panic coming from the media, coming from local governments and some in the federal government, but I'll move on from that. Maybe the panic and all the crazy news from the media and some government are causing people to think about this more than what they thought about it before, and to make up scenarios that don't really exist, to take certain things and blow it out of proportion. They showed that ER with some of the patients that had the virus. It might have been like 6 people. It wasn't that many people. I'm thinking it's going to be like 1,000 people that everybody got to. It's not like that. Even with all these crazy lines you see in New York, That's not because they all have the virus. Maybe they want to get tested because they're afraid, they're scared, they don't want to have it and give it to somebody else. Or if they do have it and they're asymptomatic, maybe they want to get some of them drugs to prevent it from going any further. So a lot of these lines you're seeing all over in New York, it may not be as bad as what it seems. And it's definitely not as bad as what people are saying nationwide. Okay, I think Dr. Birx said that most of the cases, like 55%, come from the New York City area. It's the epicenter of it right now. I think they're saying like New Orleans is getting bad, maybe Detroit, like Wayne County, maybe LA, but not really. Most of the country is not dealing with this problem. Just because New York City may have a problem does not mean that I have an issue in the small place that I'm at in Tennessee. It doesn't make any sense to shut down the entire country because some parts of the nation are having some problems with the disease. And just because people are going to get it does not mean everybody's going to die. I think we're overreacting to this whole situation. I understand you want to reduce death and have everybody be healthy and all this and that, but is it worth what, like 2,000, 5,000 people being alive to sacrifice an entire country, the entire world economically? They talking about we had 3.2 million that filed for unemployment in 1 week ending March 21st, March 15th to March 21st. How many more are going to go unemployed, underemployed, losing their hours, losing their business, losing their shirt? 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. What are we going to do? We do not do this to save people that die from the flu. There will be more that die from the flu than die from this virus, regardless of what you do. You can do social distancing. You can do self-quarantine. You can do all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. There will still be plenty more deaths that come from the flu than this virus, period. We're overreacting. People are putting out fake information. They're talking about DNRs. DNRs, if you don't know what that is, that's a do not resuscitate order. So I'm seeing stories on television, on the mainstream media, on the news now. They're talking about, oh, we got to pick and choose who can live and who can die. Ain't no respirators, all this, that, and the third. It's like, wait a minute. Really? You want to say that on TV? There's no point in even doing that because that's like a normal thing. Like if you have a grave illness or a grave disease, you'll be asked about a DNR at a certain point in the hospital. There's no point in putting that on television. You don't do that for anything else. You know, you may have the flu and get asked about DNR before you actually get admitted for treatment or whatever the case may be. Like if you ever been to a hospital, I've been many times for different reasons, not my own problem, but I'll talk about that at a different time. You fill out paperwork, and in that paperwork, it may be a section where they say, okay, do you want to be resuscitated? Who can speak on your behalf? All of that is right there in your paperwork you fill out in the ER. So why would you put that on TV? All you're doing is just contributing to more madness, more hysteria. And it doesn't make any sense. As I close, I'm going to say this. People got to stop putting out fake information, number one. And number two, people got to stop putting out sensationalized headlines, scary stories. Just stop. You're not helping the situation. You're making it get much worse. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that I'm correct in saying that these people are putting out fake things and sensationalized things and it's not helping? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. How do you feel about Deborah Birx and what she said about some of these fake stories that have been going on? Is she telling the truth? Is she being honest, dishonest? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You pretty much know where I stand. I'm right there with Dr. Birx. She's right on point, 100% correct. I don't see anything wrong with what she said. Like I was saying earlier, she appears to be the smartest person in the room. Listen to what she's saying. It's funny because some on the left will be like, believe in science, listen to scientists. But then when the scientists say things they don't agree with, all of a sudden they want to just move the goalposts. Funny how that works. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.